Once he'd passed his to-go bag to the guard at the gate, as promised, he turned the heater up, the radio on, and settled in to the rhythm of the road, hoping it would yield something he could put on the page. The drive home carried him down a 2-lane highway, lit only by headlights. The kind of uninterrupted stretch that made his mind wander to places where it found words. If he could only think past the glare ricocheting off the rearview mirror. "Everyone on the road is an asshole today," he muttered, talking to himself. He chalked it up to brainstorming, not lunacy. "I need a plotline. An alcoholic detective with questionable morals plotline." I resemble that remark. Gestapo Joe materialized in the passenger seat. Mike's self-portrait with his popped collar and his cigarette in hand. The only difference was that the detective version liked to sport a fedora. And wasn't real. A normal, sober person would have called him a hallucination. Mike called him a character he was working on. "You got anything constructive to say over there? Or are you just here for the ride-along?" Mike asked. "I'm keeping you awake because you kept popping Xanax, you shitbag. You're one to talk. That a bottle of Jack in your hand? Booze is the good detective's talisman. Whiskey never made anyone crash a car. That is patently false. Focus. What kind of trouble am I going to get up to in this book? You tell me." "Okay, go with me on this. Guy gets killed. Wife is guilty. She gets away with it because she blows our hero." "We did that already." "Right, okay. Guy gets killed. Wife is not guilty. I bend her over a desk." "Neither of us is any good at this. It's a miracle I have a career." Mike adjusted the mirror again to bounce the irritatingly close tailgater's lights out of his eyes. "I got it," Joe said. "Guy gets killed. Wife is guilty, but really, she was framed, see? And she's not guilty. I get her off, so she gets me off." "Just shut up. None of this is working." Okay. I've got one more. How about girl gets killed?" Delilah suddenly occupied the passenger seat where Mike's alter ego had been a moment earlier. Blood oozed from the side of her head where the skull had been blown apart. But she still smiled, just like her morgue photos. "Because this story I can help with." "Jesus fucking Christ!" Mike swerved, locking his brakes in a reflexive jolt, which sent his tailgater friend jerking wildly onto the shoulder. "Maybe if you hadn't been up my whole ass since the Arlington County line, you'd still have your front fender," Mike screamed into the mirror at the direction of the displaced follower. "Misha, ignore it," Delilah said. "I'm your story." "Can you be my story with the rest of your head intact, maybe?" "I'm sorry, that's part of the story. Part of our story." He rolled the Lexus to a stop at the next exit and turned to the passenger seat. But she was gone. Joe was gone. Mike was alone, like he had always been. Only the song was still in his head. It was after midnight when he finally turned into the underground parking garage. After looping 395 more times than he cared to count, he'd traced his thought paths. Georgetown, where Gestapo Joe was born. Maryland, for no good reason. The Washington Monument. Something about its weird, two-toned stones looked like a mistake someone hadn't cared enough to undo, and he had always found that relatable. After he'd stood in the cold staring at the spire long enough that a Capitol policeman clocked him twice, he got back in the car and pulled quickly onto 13th Street, cutting off a dark sedan with a dented fender. It honked, but still let him enter the lane. "Sorry," he muttered, offering the motorist an apology wave. "Guess I'm the asshole now." Both cars edged north. Plenty of people drive north, but not all of them stay on your bumper. The headlight's beam stayed fixed in the rear view, occasionally catching the flicker of Joe's fedora in the rear view as Mike strained to see the driver. The blinding glare obscured the figure, riding his tail to Massachusetts. Plenty of people take 13th to Logan Circle. "At least you're back in my head," Joe said. "Good sign. Maybe I'll see some action tonight." "Don't count on it," Mike muttered, pulling into the underground garage. The subterranean level smelled perpetually of fresh paint and cold metal, except in the summer when the humidity hung inside and made it smell like baked trash. The elevator came quickly, lifting him to his fourth-floor apartment before the cold could creep in from the trash chute and claim him. He peeled off his coat and gave it a sniff. Marta had managed to mask the smoke and whiskey, if not perform a dry-cleaning miracle, in the short time she'd had it. She'd even tucked the diamond ring back into the pocket, though if he were propping up a side-by-side list of things she'd done for him, compared to Kristen, he should have let Marta keep it. He didn't know how much she was paid, but it wasn't enough, and a stone like that might double her net worth. He took a moment to pour ground coffee into a filter and hit brew before pressing play on the flashing answering machine light. Mike, so help me, at least call me back and let me know you didn't OD on opiates or something trying to crank out these pages. Call me in the morning and give me your treatment. I can probably get you an extra week if we can show that the delay is because you're writing the screen adaptation at the same time. Wink, wink. Help me, help you. The message ended with a beep, and the drag of the tiny tape inside rewound to start again the next time she called him. You're onto something with that, Lucy, but if I call you back, it's going to be to ask you to find me a copy of an out-of-print book. Tom was now in possession of Dolores Pemberton's Xanax, but Mike still had David somebody's bottle of Vicodin. He flipped open the medicine cabinet, popped 2 tablets, and bit down. As the mirror floated closed, a dead girl watched from over his shoulder. Fuck, would you stop doing that? Doing what? Delilah asked. Materializing, looking like a zombie, bleeding on my bathroom floor. Stop taking the drugs. Oh, no. Drugs are going to get me 3 chapters tonight. He shoved past her apparition. Hallucination? Memory? And flopped to the beanbag chair on the living room floor. I'll get you 3 chapters tonight, she said. And you're here because drugs. I don't tend to interact with my imaginary friends without them. I'm not here because of drugs, Misha. Right, you're actually not here at all, but if you want to tell me that story you teased, I could use a jumpstart. He turned to where the vision had stood, but she wasn't there. Probably for the best, he muttered, getting to work. Dead Girls Tell No Tales. Chapter 1. Normally, I love a good body, especially the kind lacking a pulse, but I found this dame in an alley on my way home from Schmitty's. Don't ask what I was doing in the alley in the first place, but it rhymes with taking a piss. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself over here. Schmitty's. Yeah, it's 2 blocks from the station house, you know. I'd stopped in for a quick tumbler. Something to wash the taste of that Betty broad from my mouth, so that I could start over tomorrow. I had 1 whiskey. Glass, not bottle, in case you were wondering. Schmitty and I talked about the ponies a bit, and then he tells me to beat it like, so I tossed him a Lincoln for his trouble, and ducked out into the alley. That's when I found her. She was a foxy broad for one with rigor mortis. Dead sexy, you might say. Neck broken like a little bird. Someone clipped her wings good. I stumbled back inside to use Schmitty's horn. Called it into the boys anonymous-like. Because I knew, lickety-split, the fuzz would be all over that alley. And the last thing I need is to get involved with another dame. Especially the cold kind. I hightailed it out of there. Let the poor schmuck on nights catch this one. I was headed home. I'd had my share of dames lately and was looking forward to catch a case with a good old-fashioned dead man. Preferably one who was unmarried and without daughters. It was a good plan. A great plan. Except the next morning, this bird strolls into my office. A dead ringer for the dead girl, and says, I need a dick. I've been known to be one of those. I offered to pour her a drink since it was already 9 a.m., and drinks don't pour themselves. Brandy? No, the name's Margarita, thank you. I need to find my twin sister. She's been missing for 2 days, and I think someone killed her. They meant to kill me.